I can officially welcome you all back to season 2023 of NRL Fantasy. We have a lot of changes coming in this year, and we're going to be going through a lot of them today. Also, we're going to be going through a bunch of our strategies. I have 3 here that I think you could adopt in any way, shape, or form, which I'm going to go through our little table here at the bottom, and also our Excel spreadsheet, which I will delve deeply into those 3 strategies that I've come up with. But we will start off with those rules up top and what is new in 2023, guys. If you have noticed down the bottom there in that new overlay, we have our new Discord code. We have the league code as well, so jump in and hit that one. We also have some new branding in the JB there, which all of you will find out a little bit more in the next few weeks, which is, I've got plenty of exciting things to come, but let's get into this content here. So the salary cap has changed a little bit. It is at 10 million, and that doesn't reflect what it actually is in the NRL at the moment, but that's okay. It looks like they're going to keep it at this for this year and probably change from there. For those who will ask, the NRL app will come into effect later in January. I know a lot of you guys like using the phone, like myself. Definitely find it, obviously on the go a lot easier. That will come in late January. So if anyone asks, just let them know that. We don't have an exact date, but that's the general plan right now. So a bunch of dot points to get through. First one here is the teams will have a bye each week, which is a brand new feature this year in fantasy, given there is 17 teams in the comp with the Dolphins joining this year. So very, very exciting for me. I think it's a much better way to play NRL fantasy, is that having an extra team there gives it an extra bye, which adds another layer of difficulty to this game. What we also are going to be seeing there is it's actually 2 extra weeks. So we do have 8 extra trades this year. So it was at 36, now it's at 44. So people are like, wow, it's an extreme amount of extra trades they've given us this year. There are 2 extra weeks to allow for those 2 buys that each team is going to get over the course of the season, and get that correct amount of games in for each team that we normally have. So nothing too much changes apart from having that one team with a bye each week. And I'm sure a lot of the squads will enjoy that. But that's definitely a brand new feature. And as I said, I'm really excited about that, and I hope you guys are as well. We will speak a lot further about that as we get into things throughout the year. So our total trades have been adjusted to 44, like we said, with a maximum of 36 available through to end of round 19, and another 8 available from round 20. So this kind of works pretty well. It is, for most people, it is difficult to use that amount of trades all the way through to round 19. So what we did see last year is they did bring in this rule. So this is slightly similar to that. For those that are new or coming back into the game after a bunch of years off, this is what they did last year. They gave you some extra trades, well, to add up to the full allotment of trades after that round 19. So basically, I think that a lot of this is going to come to play when we talk about the 3 strategies that I have available for you guys to potentially use going forward. There might be a few other strategies as well that you can come up with, but these are going to be the main sort of 3 there. So when we talk about trade maximums, it's very different this year as well. You're able to make 2 trades each week from round 2 to round 6. So you'll have 5 weeks there where you can make 2 trades as a maximum. Then from round 7 to round 12, you get 3. And from round 13 onwards, all the way through to the last round in round 27, you can actually use 4 per week. So it's actually pretty crazy, which I'll jump over here and show you what that would look like if you were to use all your trades. So that would mean you use 10 trades in the first 5 rounds, which leaves you finishing the end of round 6. From there, you'd have 6 rounds of 3, which is 18. That's 28 in total so far. And if you max traded from there, it'd be another 60 trades. So in total, there would be 88, and we get 44. So you would very much run out of trades extremely early. Obviously, with this, you couldn't use the full allotment, but if you were given all 44 of them in a row, you would run out by the end of round 16, which would leave you with 11 rounds left. Obviously, they give you that 8 at the end, so this wouldn't exactly happen, but it still shows you do need to conserve some trades at some point. And in the old years, they used to only allow you to make that 2 per week, and then in the 2 buy rounds would give you 3 or 4. These days, it's changed, and they're giving you a lot more autonomy to actually use as many trades as you like. So it can be very scary if you're a trade-happy guy, like I know a lot of people are. Yeah, very, very interesting there for sure. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So buy rounds are going to be in 13, 16, and 19. And the difference this year is that your score will be reduced to 13 players. So in the past, you've been able to use all 17 if you want to. Most of the time, using the full 17 would leave you short for the next buy round, for example. Use 17 in there out of your total of 21 players. You therefore have to use max trades to even get close to a 13 for the next time. So they've reduced that, which I'm not too fond of. I think, either way, like it helps if you're someone that likes the strategy of having around that 12 to 13 in both or the buy rounds, all three of the buy rounds there. But if you're someone that likes going hard and conserving at the start, it makes it a little bit harder for you to really catch up during that buy period, for example. And then the dual position player update schedule is very normal. So after round 1 team list, they will change. Okay, if there's someone who's named in a certain position and there's some thought that they will play there regularly, then they will get that dual position. Remember, guys, if you have a dual position already, 2 positions, whether it's center and wing fullback, for example, you will not be able to get a third, and they will not change that second one to whatever they've been named in. They will then change before round 7, before round 13, and also before round 21. So just be aware of that when you're looking at making your sides there. Okay, so we're going to go through the spreadsheet first and then get back into some of the perks and some of the cons of the three strategies I've got. So my first strategy is to trade really hard early, try to build from there and see how you go. And we'll speak about that in a second in terms of what that will look like in trades. The second one would be to conserve early and go crazy with your trades in the middle. And the third one would be the middle of both of those. So I'm going to pop over to the Excel sheet now and we will go through those trades. So strategy 1 here, we've got an example, right? This isn't exactly how it's going to go, but just bear with me here and see which strategy you think would be best for you. So this will be the trading hard early. So you would be using 10 trades over those first 5 trading opportunities, which would end you at round 6, okay? You did that 10, you would then do 2 per week on average for the rest of the way. How that would work then is you would run out of trades at the end of round 24, and that's using 2 on average each and every round after round 6. So let me know if you think that would be a solid strategy for you. I personally think this is the best strategy for most scenarios. I think strategy 2 is going to be the best strategy, which is conservative and then trading hard through the middle if you have a really good starting side. But strategy 1 for most people, I think is going to work well. Because we have so many trades, given that 44, I think it's super important to get your team right from the start. If you have a few issues in your starting side, I would suggest making changes early, getting out those cheapies that aren't performing, the mid-rangers that you thought, were going to do really well and they haven't done so. Get them out, get the correct cash cows, and you can build your squad from there. The other thing I would say there is if you were to manage to save a couple early, instead of using max trades for the first 5 rounds there, you could save 2. Then you'd run out of trades after 25 rounds, which would leave you with 2 rounds with no trades. But if you've done really well with managing your side, you'd be able to leave a couple of guys on your bench there, given 18th and 19th man. You'd have some dual position and some cover where you'd be able to get a strong 17 each week and hopefully only get away with a couple of injuries. Would be the way to try and make it through that whole season and do super well. Again, we'll jump in and have a look at the perks and the cons of that. So my perks, I would say, would be getting all the cash cows in, okay, which is going to give you some good points, but really just build your team value, which is a super important facet of the game. You can build your team value super high. You can have a really good season. You're going to get ahead of the pack early. If you're jumping on all the right cash cows, you're getting the right mid-ranges, you're going to jump ahead of some other guys that haven't been able to jump on those guys and get the correct points or the best points that they need to go ahead with this. And I think there's going to be enough trades for this strategy. So that's why I think it's probably the optimal one. Just, you're only using that 10 in the first 5. Yes, it's max trading at the start, but the issue, a lot of people are going to max trade in that middle section and the later section with the 3 and 4 a week, and they really add up. So I don't think the 2 per week is a real killer in this. Cons I see is you're probably going to jump off a few players a little bit early. You might see one guy have a poor round 1 and then round 2 and 3, they come out and kill it. So that could be a poor strategy there. You'd be worrying about the number of trades that you have in your bank later on in the season. And I think the last one would be relying on cover and luck at the end would be a big issue. Makes sense, right? You're leaving the last 2 rounds for chance, and that could be a bit of an issue. Strategy number 2, this is a conservative strategy and then trading hard through the middle. So I'd say probably about 5 to 6 trades use around that 1 to 1 and a bit per week on average there. I would then suggest probably 2 per week from round 7 to 11. So that 5 round period there would leave you with 15 to 16 trades used. Okay. And then 3 per week from there, all the way from 12 through to 18 is 7 rounds there and 21 trades. That would leave you with 7 to 8 trades remaining, and then you could use 1 to 2 per week for the remainder to set up your final team and get you through any injuries and suspensions that you might come across. So what this will do is, if you did manage to save a few during the middle there, it obviously saves you a few more for the final team, which could be great. So as I said, I think this works best if you have a perfect starting side. You do really, really well. You'll be able to conserve a few trades at the start and then use a few more through the middle in that important buy period. So I definitely think that would be the next best strategy for this year, but that really hinges on the fact that you have a super duper good starting side to kick things off. All right, so coming back to the perks there, as I said, you should be scoring best of any strategy across the important buy period. As I said here, if you're having an extra trade a week here in that buy section, you're going to score better than most. If you have a great starting team, I think this is the best strategy, as I said there. Cons, you might be a little bit too far behind if you go a little bit conservative at the start, unless your team is perfect. Again, there'll be a lot of people that use this strategy, but they haven't had that perfect starter, so that could be an issue. Could also forget about building your final 17. Yeah, if you're thinking about trading too heavily through the middle, there could be a few issues there in terms of being able to build that final 17. You also might get into that strategy or that headspace of really chasing points, which is something that I've, and a lot of other NRL fantasy players gets in trouble with, is that they chase those points and those that value increase there. All right, onto the middling strategy, and just say you use 7 trades here. So you're not max trading every week. You're not going all out. You then, on average, use 1.5 per week until the end of round 12. So with the buy rounds being from 13 onwards, you're not over trading during this period, but you're making sure that you're fixing any errors that you may have come up with. You're upgrading a few cash cows. You're doing what you need to do to get to that stage. You then have 16 total use, which is very similar to strategy 2, just a slightly different way of doing it. From then on, all the way up until round 25, you would be using 2 trades. I think that's pretty fair. You do miss out on that buy period and having that extra one that the strategy 2's been using. But obviously, all the way up until round 25, you have that 2 trades per week, whereas you had that 1 to 2 after round 18 in that strategy number 2. You then leave 2 trades for the final 2 rounds, and that's to make sure that if a gun goes down, you can replace them with another gun. You make sure you have a strong 17 each week. I just think it leaves you some space to finish well. So they definitely all have their pros. Let me know in the comments if you have any other strategies that you think can work in this one. But I think they're the 3 pretty normal ones that I think would work well with this new fantasy game. That's the thing, guys. It is brand new, so you could come out with a certain strategy. You think this, it might have done well in the past and it might not do well in this new version. And a completely new strategy might come out and take over and win this as well. So it's going to be all fun to see. The middling strategy, I can see this, to quote TK, talks about the 3-date rule. You should be able, with the middling strategy, be able to watch a player a couple more times than just what you would do in that trade hard early section, where you'd see one that, they haven't done so well, get rid of them straight away. Whereas the middling, you probably wait a little bit longer. You're not going to waste trades as much, which you might see in that crazy in the middle stage or trading hard early, because you're right in the middle of both of them. And I think it works perfectly if your team is going along nicely from the start. Of course, it's very similar to this conserve early section here. If it's going well, you don't have to trade too crazy, just making some upgrades, removing players that aren't doing so well, and you can do it from there. The cons, I think you might potentially give players a bit too long in your side. Probably going to miss out on a couple of cashies. You go, oh, do I need to make that trade? They've already gained a bit. They're only scoring okay, but I could use their cash that they're generating. You had those questions and then you just decide not to trade. And the cons here is I think it's a new game, so it might be too middle. That's basically what I've worked out here. I think in this one where you've gotten a lot of extra trades now, I think there's 2 options there that work well. I think 1 and 2 are your best strategies. The middling can work. And I'm sure a bunch of people will do well using that strategy. And it is usually what the strategy I would take when you've got like a shorter buy period like we usually have. You have less trades to use. So it's, you usually fall into a bit of a trap. If you trade really hard early, you can catch yourself later really struggling to last at the end of the year. And then if there's injury, suspensions, and whatever else, it can cause lots of trouble. But that is that video, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. Plenty to come from here. Updating you every couple of days from here on in, which will be great. And we'll get Scoop on.